Legacy of Justice 001. Superman, Man of Broken Tomorrows. Chapter 4. Training Day. I stood there in one of the fields. A stack of hay with a pumpkin placed on top stood several feet away from me. John stood by my side, watching carefully to every action that I made. Okay, so heat vision is all about concentration. The more you focus, the more accurate you are. And, of course, how intense your heat vision can actually be is down to how much you concentrate. You can go from as low as warming wave, like a microwave, to a shot as hot as the sun, I explained. I stared at the pumpkin, my eyes ignited, the red beam left my eyes, and I marked the pumpkin with a smiley face. I looked down at my son with a small grin, and I was met with a blank expression. Okay, fine, your turn, I smirked. John and myself swapped places, and he stared at the pumpkin. He took a deep breath in, and his heat vision erupted. It hit the pumpkin, and the pumpkin exploded, splattering all over the mud. The beam of raw heat continued ripping through the crops. I threw my hands over my son's eyes, the heat vision burnt from my palm. I grunted ever so slightly in pain, which was a strange experience for me, as I wasn't expecting that much heat to hurt. The heat vision subdued, and John stood there with a heavy breath. Oh, holy hell, that hurt, he muttered as he rubbed his eyes. It's okay, your body just needs time to flex. And just relax, okay? That's all. You'll get used to it, I reassured him. Can we please try something else for now? John sighed. I saw the weight on his shoulders, and I nodded. We stood in the barn, surrounded by different equipment and different gadgets. I handed John a blindfold. What's this for? John asked me. Super hearing, I told him. John placed on the blindfold over his eyes and stood there stagnant. So I'm going to turn everything in here on. Your job is to follow the sound of my voice. Hone in on just my voice. Focus. Drown everything out. I am going to be able to drown out an entire planet and focus on one voice on the other side of the planet. We're going to do that just on a much smaller scale, I told him. Sure, John muttered. I sped around the room and turned on every single thing in the barn. The tractor, the wood chipper, the chainsaw, the radio, and everything else. The barn became filled with every annoying and loud sound, which together became very jarring. I came to a halt on the other side of the barn. Follow the sound of my voice, I whispered. I could see John trying to focus on my words. His body shifted ever so slightly. He had me locked on. Follow my voice, John. You're doing great, I whispered. John started taking very small steps forward. He scooted past several hay bales and walked past the farming equipment. He then walked straight up to me and stopped, and he removed the blindfold and looked up at me with a big grin on his face. I grinned back at him. I gave him a nice big hug. Well done, kid. I told you could do it, I said. We both stood in one of the largest fields that we owned. Okay, you have taking flight already handled, and you've got it handled well, but you're pushing off the ground way too hard. It should be effortless. Like this, I stated. I then started floating. My body just floated off the ground. My feet left the ground with ease. My body became weightless. It just happened. I didn't need to push off the ground or launch myself into the air. It just happened. John shook his head and took a deep breath in. His face then became very strained. John, clear your head. Flying should be like walking. It's nothing. It's easy. It's natural. Like just taking a breath of fresh air, I told him. John nodded at me, and then he closed his eyes and took a really deep breath in. Then he started floating, and within seconds he'd reached my level. Yes, John, well done, I cheered. Hey, Dad, he said. Yeah, I replied. Thanks for today. I really appreciate it, he muttered. It's okay. I'm sorry I've been so focused on other stuff. We should have done this sooner, I admitted. Nah, Dad, it's okay, I understand. Uncle Jimmy coming back is tough and really strange, and he's not even acting himself. That must be really hard, my son replied. It is, yeah, I admitted. Then John closed the gap between us and gently punched me in the arm. Tag, you're it, he barked with a grin on his face. He then bolted up and flew into the clouds. I let out a chuckle, and I chased after him. He then stopped flying straight up, and instead then flew straight on. He flew over our land and flew over Smallville. His speed was impressive, and I was not going to get shone over by my own son. I bolted forward, moving almost as fast as I could, and I quickly overtook John, flying past him very quickly. I stopped dead in my tracks and turned around, and John flew straight at me. With one hand I caught him. Tag, you're it, I said with a smirk. Suddenly, a loud scream echoed out. It wasn't close. My super hearing was on high alert, and John's eyes widened. He looked at me in panic. He also heard the scream. Dad, we have to help! John blurted. No, you're heading back home, I ordered. I then bolted away, leaving John to float there, not giving him a chance to argue with me. I flew as fast as I could. I flew onto the scene, now donning my Superman suit. There was a large boat on a large lake. The water was rapidly spinning, quickly becoming some form of whirlpool. The boat had a large plume of black, thick smoke erupting from the rear end. The boat was slanting into the water. People were slipping, sliding, trying to hold on to the ship as it capsized. I flew down and floated before the roaring flames. I took a deep breath in and exhaled a cold breath which froze the flames solid. I then floated down and grabbed a hold of the boat. I used all my strength and lifted the boat out of the water. I then placed my hand on the belly of the boat. Now water was dripping on me as I held the boat over my head, and I slowly floated over to dry land. Suddenly there was a large scream. I looked to my left and saw a woman fall off the boat. Before I could react, though, a speeding blur flew past and caught the falling woman. The speeding blur flew over to the beach that I was headed to and dropped the woman on the sand nicely. I gently placed the boat down, and one by one I helped everyone off the boat, and I also made sure the woman who fell was alright. I then left the people to the paramedics who appeared on the scene. I then soared high into the clouds, where I found John floating there using the clouds as cover. His breath was heavy. I did good, right? He said through a very heavy pant. I wanted to tell him off, for ignoring me, for following me, for using his powers to save someone without the right amount of training. A part of me believed he should have gone to the house just like I asked. However, he did do the right thing. He caught the woman with ease, without causing harm to her, and he moved so fast and so swift that his face was hidden. He wasn't recognized. I could have saved her, but it did make the situation overall easier that he was there. I floated over to him and I hugged him. You did a fantastic job, son. Thanks, I said. You're welcome, John muttered as he wrapped his arms around me. I stood in the kitchen washing the dinner dishes. John was at the table telling his mother about his rescue earlier that day. She grinned at him and told him that she was proud. He then got up to head up to his room to play video games with his friends. Lois got up and walked over to me and she leant against the counter. So, how do you feel about today? Honestly now, Smallville, Lois asked me sternly. I wanted to give him hell, to be honest. But he did good. I think I should train him more often, to be honest. Maybe eventually today can come a regular occurrence, if you're okay with it, of course, I stated. Hey, I knew having kids as Superman could have its challenges, and yes, it would be hard, but I'll be more grateful than worried. Grateful that finally you'll have someone to help you on your level, Lois stated. Fair enough, I nodded. Suddenly my phone rang. I dried my hands and answered it. Hey Clark, I found some info on your friend. You might want to see this, Bruce said. Hey Bruce, yeah, send it over, I told him. My phone vibrated. I received a photo. I opened the file and the image showed Jimmy Olsen, and he was wearing all white. He was stood outside a Cadmus laboratory. I showed Lois, who looked at me stunned. I then held my phone back to my ear. I thought Cadmus was shut down, I told Bruce. We did too, but Dick and his team found it. Clark, there's a good chance of... Bruce said, but I cut him off. Meet me there, Bruce, and we can check it out. I need facts, not theories, I snapped. Understood. I'll send you the location and we'll be there in an hour, Bruce told me. I hung up and placed my phone down on the counter. Then I let out a very long sigh. It's okay, Clark, go. I've got John. And find some proper answers, okay? We need to know why Jimmy was at Cadmus, and we need to know how they're involved, she told me. I turned around and gave my wife a very tight, long hug, and then a very soft, passionate kiss. Then I blurred out the door, making my way to the new Cadmus laboratories in hopes of finding some answers.